Hey guys, Beckett here, back for another tutorial again. So I've had a couple of requests for a tutorial on forward bends, and since seeing as we already did the back bends, so now we're going to do the forward bends. So the funny thing is that I actually shot this video like a couple of months ago and then edited most of it. I was almost done, ready to post it, and then I lost it. So I was having some issues with my phone, and that's when that happened. So here I am filming this video again for you guys so that you have the tips that I want to teach you. When we're talking about forward bending, what helps us build that length is going to be flexibility in the legs. So the back of the legs, specifically the hamstrings and the calf muscles, and all just down from your Achilles all the way down your back of your leg up into your glutes, and then also all the way up into the low back. So when we're talking about forward bends, what we're actually talking about is building flexibility in the back of the legs and the low back specifically. So the runner's lunge with the leg out straight in front, up on the back knee. So this one is a good one to start with. Okay, and you can kind of move your ankle like that, pointing and flexing. So you guys should probably all know this one. It's the basic yoga pose, Janushasana. You can pull the leg in close so you can work on the back of one leg here. Helps to flex the heel really hard and pull the ball of your foot toward your face if you can reach it. If not, just hold wherever you can. So the goal here is to maintain straightness in the back, in the spine, so that we're really targeting that low back area that's going to help us get all the way forward. Okay, so whenever we're reaching our head toward our foot, we want to think about not arching the back, instead pushing the navel forward, pushing the belly button toward the thigh, and then heart toward the knee, and then nose toward your toes. Okay, so you may not be able to touch your nose with your toes. Someday, I can't yet, but one day it will happen. But just trying to keep that straight back posture is going to really help open up the low back and the back of the legs more than if you were to say round your spine. Like, so many people will overcompensate that way, like they can't get all the way down, so they'll round out their spine so that then they can reach their head to their knee or somewhere not on their leg, and that is not what we're going for. That's going to create tension in your back. It's going to be back pain up here, and it's not going to open up the low back the way we want it to. Okay, so really pushing forward with the belly button and the chest as if you're like sticking your butt out behind you, and then going forward. So we're reaching our belly button toward our thigh before we're reaching anywhere else. So I've got a couple of blocks here, and this is a little trick that I like to use. Anytime that you can work against gravity by elevating your foot in any way is going to help. So you can do that in your in this one here with one foot on the block. You can do both feet up on the block. Okay, and then again thinking about pushing that belly button forward and then reaching down. Oh, calf stretching is not my favorite thing. And whenever you're in a pose, you can kind of move your body around. This helps a little bit, so kind of rocking side to side, or you can like move at the ankles like this, like pointing and flexing back and forth. It just helps to release a little bit of tension in your body and helps your muscles relax into the stretch as opposed to fighting your muscles to get into the stretch. So since we're talking about increasing flexibility in the low back, we're going to do an extended puppy pose, and this is going to help us out in our forward bends. So some people call this kitty cat stretch. So we're going to stay up high on our knees, keeping our hips over our knees. We're going to walk our hands out in front and then dip the chest down. And you want to stay up high on the fingertips here. That's going to help you push. And just really elongate in the low back. And then really try to drive your tailbone back toward the back wall. So as I'm doing this, I'm not focusing so much on my back bend. I'm pushing my tailbone backwards and down. So it's kind of like a rounding. So if you were going to do a cat-cow here, like this, by curling your tailbone under in cow position, that's what you want to think about. So reach the hands forward and then dip the chest down and then turn the tailbone under. And then you want to pull against your fingers and sit back into the hips So I'm pushing back into my hips as I'm pulling forward with my fingertips. And it's starting to help me elongate in the low back and just unlocking the spine and getting that low back nice and stretched, so then you can fold all the way forward. So we can also work on some hip openers here to help us open up the legs for our forward folds. So you can do a butterfly. It's a good one to start. You can kind of move the knees around. You can rock side to side if you want to. You can go around in circles, just really opening up those hip joints. Okay, and then once we've kind of warmed up the joints a little bit, we're gonna start to fold forward. And again, I wanna think here about my long back, so reaching my belly button down toward my feet instead of arching and reaching my head for my feet. Okay, so my head stays out straight. Okay, and then trying that in a straddle. So opening up wide, and then you can kind of rock side to side to move into the hips a little bit deeper here. You can go around in circles. So then I'm just gonna get nice and comfy in my straddle position, and then I'm gonna walk my hands out forward, trying to keep my toes facing up toward the ceiling, and using my external rotators to keep my knees up so that I'm really focusing on opening up in the inner thigh area here, all the way down through the knee joint. And then I start to reach my belly button toward the ground. So again here, I'm kind of putting an arch in my low back, so I'm pushing my belly button down as opposed to reaching my head down. So I want my belly button to touch the ground before my heart or head or anything else. And don't forget to breathe. So once we're nice and warmed up on the ground, we can come and work on some standing poses. So you can have your feet hip width apart, or you can step your toes slightly together, okay? And then just kind of warm up that back here. So we're gonna reach long with the crown of the head, and then if you need to, you can come up onto your shins here to get that length in the back, and then start to fold forward at the hip joint. So I'm thinking again about putting that arch in my low back, arch in my low back, so that I can keep my spine nice and straight, so that I'm not rounding through the shoulders and compromising my back here. So I'm keeping it nice and flat. It's like sticking your tailbone up toward the ceiling. So from there, leaning forward, and then you can kind of roll into the toes to open up the back of the legs more, and then see if you can go a little bit deeper. You're welcome to wrap your arms around the back of your legs if you can. If not, don't worry about it. Just work with what you've got, work where you're at. When I first started doing yoga, like 12 years ago or so, I couldn't even touch my toes. So there is hope, there's always hope. So then you can work on your wide stance forward fold. Okay, so just stepping out those feet wider than the hips, and then just kind of getting, again, that arch in the low back, pushing down into the belly button, and then leaning forward into it. And then you can sort of grab your ankles here and pull down with the arms. If you want, you can even wrap, I'm wearing socks, but you can wrap your first two fingers and your thumb around your big toes to use that tension to pull down. And then see if you can touch your head on the ground. When I'm at home doing this, I like to use a couple of mounted bookcases that I have against the wall and use that tension to pull. So if I'm here and my head's on the ground, I'm reaching my hands through my legs, and I'm grabbing these bookcases that I have, and I pull against the bookcases to then send my hips that way over my head. Okay, so if you have something like that you can work with, like bedpost, or it can be like a sturdy heavy chair, or something mounted into the wall, or a friend's ankles that you can pull against, that's really going to help open up your back bend, because then you can really focus on keeping your shoulders down, sticking out your belly button, and using the tension of whatever you're grabbing against to get even deeper into your forward fold. Open up those hamstrings a lot, because then once your hips start going back over your head, then it's really going to force your hamstrings to open up, okay? And then at the same time working on that length in the low back. So that one is one that I absolutely love to work on at home with my forward folds. So low back problems, something that you're going to want to work on in your forward folds is in a reclined position. This is going to really ease up the tension on the back. So you can lay all the way down and then just take a simple hug on the knees here just to start to open up that low back. And then you can start to try to straighten your legs out. And then you can start to pull them down in toward your face. So this is keeping my back mostly straight, because this way I can't really do anything about arching my head to my knees. I have to keep my back straight on the ground and then just pull with your arms, or you can have like a friend push against your legs. It helps if they also kind of sit, if you're comfortable with them sitting on your glutes or near your mid thighs, and then push, so that keeps all of this steady as it pulls down the legs toward your head. So working on one at a time is great as well. You can kind of switch back and forth here. And one that I really like to do while I'm lying down is a reclined pigeon. So you can bend one ankle right on top of your knee, bend the other one down, and then thread your hands through, and then you pull. Oh, this one feels so good. You should try it just because it feels awesome. So another thing that you can work on here is, instead of grabbing your ankles, wearing socks, but doing your grip around your big toe with your first two fingers and your thumb to really use the strength of the arms. So what that does is it forces you to flex your feet. So it's easy to point at the ankles to pull here, and you might find that you can get a little bit deeper if you do that, but it's going to force you to flex your feet so that it also opens up those calves. And we all know how much I love calf stretching. So the goal here is to think about not rounding in the low back. So as I'm pulling down, I'm also trying to push, so I'm not letting my tailbone come up like that. I'm trying to push my glutes down with the strength of my back. That's going to help keep that super straight, flat back that we were talking about. So that's all I have to show you guys for today, and I hope that was helpful. As always, if you have any requests for anything, stretching or strength or any kind of areas of the body that you want to focus on, just leave your requests in the comments below and I'll see what I can do. Alright guys, have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.